is sort of a clarion call to all of us. Any thoughts about that? Like the Lord is saying almost kind of in an Ephesians 5 type of way, wake up, wake up, tangle up with me. Let's deal with the issues of the heart. Like Solomon said, keep and guard your heart above everything else.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I'd love to continue to poke this with you. Is there a prophetic urgency that you're sensing to say, hey, guys, let's go?
Here's where I think Jacob struggled. Unlike his grandfather Abraham, he would something about his understanding of God wanted to keep God really small. He negotiates with God. Even though God appears to him in a dream, the next time he prays, he's saying, okay, God, if you'll be faithful to me, I'll give you 1/10 of everything I own. Which is the most bizarre thing. Like, God really needs 1/10 of what I own? So he had a kind of a small view of God. And that's a thing, that's our culture right there. Our society does not have an understanding of a great God. If our secular society has an understanding of God, it's a God you turn to in a crisis to help you get out of debt. You do negotiate with him. I'll start going to church if you'll help me, get a job. It's that kind of tit for tat relationship, transactional relationship. And so I do think that the behavior of Jacob is reflective of the behavior of our society. Jacob kept thinking it was up to him to fix stuff, He kept thinking it was up to him. His mother had been told by God that the younger shall rule over the older. But they couldn't wait for God to get his plan in, so they took a shortcut. So he had a small view of God, like God needs my help.
Yes.
And if there is a God, he's going to have me take control. So I do think that I wish I don't know if I would say it's a prophetic view that when I wrote this, I thought this is going to be a message that awakens our society. But as we're talking, I can really see that our society behaves a lot like the grandson of Abraham.
Yeah, Max, it's like the layers of an onion are being peeled back as we're talking today, because I think you're revealing something at the core, which is, I don't know, practical atheism. We, as you said regarding Jacob, we keep God really small. That was a distinction about him, as you said. How do we do that today? How do we practically, Monday through Friday, act as if he's really small? What does that look like? Because it sounds like you had that play out in your own life 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think the evidence of a small God is demonstrated in the way. Boy, that's such a good question. I don't want to mess this one up.
Take your time. Yeah, sure. Take all the time you want, Max. Yeah.
Yeah. If God is small, then our problems are going to feel large. But if God is large, then we're going to have a better perspective. It's not that our problems will be small, but it's that we will have an understanding that he is there to help us. And I wonder if Jacob had this understanding of God. And Abraham, his grandfather, had heard from God directly. Mm-hmm. He had witnessed God in that miraculous moment which the smoking pot, the flame, passed between the carcasses of the animals. And he believed God. He believed God. And that's that famous, he believed God was credited to him as righteousness. Jacob also had encounters. The ladder from heaven, the wrestling in the mud of Jabbok. He had moments of encounters as well. But it just seemed like it was harder for him to internalize those. And consequently Jacob would go off the rails because he had so many problems and he had tried to fix things on his own. So I see this playing itself out in our culture in the level of anxiety, and also alcohol and drug related deaths. Our anxiety is at an all time high. Alcohol and drug related deaths are the most since 1910. Suicide is the highest it's been since World War II. When God is small, our problems really feel like they're monsters. They're gigantic. Wow. Mm-hmm. But if our understanding of God can just get larger, again, it's not that our problems there are serious problems in life that come our way, and yet if we can perceive them from God's the fact that we have a great God to help us face them,
yes,
then the odds are better that we'll survive them.